It was early morning when two friends, Arjun and Ravi, decided to go hiking in the old forest outside their town. The sun was just rising and the air was cool and fresh. Both of them loved exploring new places, and that day they planned to take a different path, one that no one from their village had followed before. Arjun carried a small backpack with water, food, and a flashlight. Ravi brought his camera because he liked to take pictures of nature. The forest looked peaceful at first. Birds sang in the trees, and the sound of leaves brushing in the wind made everything calm. But the deeper they went, the quieter it became. The singing of birds slowly faded and a strange silence took over. Ravi stopped walking for a moment and looked around. The trees stood tall and dark, and the ground was covered in fallen leaves. He felt something odd, like they were being watched. Arjun laughed and told him not to worry, saying it was just the forest's natural silence. But Ravi still looked uneasy. After walking for more than 2 hours, they reached a wide clearing. What they saw there made them stop in surprise. In the middle of the clearing stood a large old gate made of rusted metal. Behind it was something that looked like a circus ground. There were torn tents, broken carts, and wooden stalls standing in strange silence. Arjun looked at Ravi and said it must be an abandoned circus. He wanted to take a look inside. Ravi hesitated, saying it might not be safe, but curiosity won in the end. They both stepped through the open gate. Inside the fence, the air smelled of dust and old wood. The ground was uneven and soft, and their shoes sank slightly as they walked. They could see faded posters on the ground showing clowns, acrobats, and animals. Everything looked frozen in time, as if the people had left suddenly many years ago. Arjun walked toward a large red tent that still stood in the center. Its fabric was torn, but the shape was still clear. The ropes holding it were frayed, and the poles looked weak. He pushed the entrance flap aside and peeked inside. The air was stale and smelled of rust. Inside were rows of wooden benches, a large circular ring in the middle, and a small stage at the far end. Ravi followed him with his camera. The moment he stepped inside, he felt a chill run down his spine. There was something about that place that felt wrong. The air was too still, and even the dust seemed to hang without moving. But Arjun, always brave, walked right into the ring and looked around with interest. He noticed an old trunk near the edge of the stage. It was covered in thick dust and spider webs. He brushed it off and tried to open it. The lock was rusty, but it broke after a little force. Inside were costumes, juggling balls, and masks. The colors had faded, but the shapes were still clear. One mask caught his attention. It had a wide smile painted on it, but the eyes were completely black. Ravi looked at the mask and said it was creepy, but Arjun laughed and placed it on a bench. Then he picked up a small bell from the trunk. It had a soft metallic sound when he shook it. The sound echoed strangely inside the tent, almost like it was answered by another bell far away. They both froze. Arjun looked around, confused. Ravi whispered that maybe the wind had caused the sound, but there was no wind. The trees outside were still and the tent flaps did not move. Arjun smiled nervously and said they should explore the rest of the place. They walked out of the main tent and moved toward the smaller ones around it. One had a painted sign that read "Animal Show." When they entered, they saw old cages lined against the walls. The iron bars were bent and the smell inside was musty. Some cages had broken doors and the straw on the ground looked untouched for years. Ravi took a few pictures, but he started to feel uneasy again. He told Arjun they should go back before it got dark. Arjun agreed to leave soon, but wanted to check one more place first. There was a small trailer near the back of the circus ground. Its windows were broken and one door was hanging loose. Arjun stepped inside while Ravi stayed outside to take photos. Inside the trailer were shelves filled with old bottles, boxes, and papers. On a table lay a notebook covered in dust. Arjun opened it carefully. The pages were yellow and the writing was messy. It looked like a diary. He started reading. The first few pages talked about circus shows, performers, and audiences. The writer mentioned laughter, lights, and applause. But the later pages were different. The words became strange and hard to understand. There were lines about people disappearing, about strange figures appearing at night near the woods, and about something that lived beneath the ring. Arjun's hand shook as he turned the pages. Some words were crossed out. Others were written again and again like a warning. The last line said, "Do not ring the bell after dark." Ravi called from outside, asking what he found. Arjun said it was nothing important and quickly closed the notebook. He did not want to worry his friend. He put the notebook in his backpack and stepped outside. The sun was now low in the sky. The forest shadows grew long and dark. Ravi looked at his watch and said it was time to leave. They walked back toward the gate. But before they could exit, Arjun heard a soft ringing sound. It was faint, like the bell he had rung earlier. Ravi stopped walking and turned around. The sound came from the main tent, slow and steady, like someone was calling them back. Arjun's face turned pale. He knew he had left the bell on the bench. Ravi asked if they should go check, but Arjun shook his head. He said maybe it was the wind hitting something inside. They both started walking faster toward the path that led out of the clearing. The sound of the bell continued behind them, ringing softly again and again. By the time they reached the edge of the forest, the sky had turned orange. They were both silent. Ravi looked back one last time, and he thought he saw a flicker of light inside the big red tent like a candle or a lantern. But when he blinked, it was gone. They reached their car and drove back toward town. Neither of them spoke for a long time. Ravi finally said that maybe they should tell someone about the circus. Arjun nodded slowly but said they should wait until tomorrow. That night, as Arjun placed his backpack on the floor, he heard something faint inside. A soft metallic sound came from it. He opened the bag and found the small bell he had taken out earlier, lying on top of the notebook. He was sure he had left it at the circus. He stared at it in silence as the bell rang once, even though he had not touched. The next morning, Arjun could not stop thinking about the bell in the strange notebook. Ravi called him, asking if he wanted to go back to the forest. Arjun hesitated at first, but curiosity was stronger than fear. He agreed. They planned to go early, before the sun was high. When they arrived at the edge of the forest, the air felt colder than yesterday. The birds were quiet and the leaves barely moved. Ravi carried his camera again, and Arjun had his backpack with water and the notebook. The forest seemed different, even though it was the same path they had walked before. Shadows looked longer and darker. As they walked toward the clearing, Arjun noticed footprints in the soft soil. They were too big to be their own and looked like someone had been there recently. He pointed them out to Ravi. Ravi frowned and said that the forest was rarely visited, so it was strange to see fresh prints. When they reached the clearing, the old circus looked the same, but somehow more alive. The tent seemed taller, and the colors on the fabric looked slightly brighter. The main red tent in the center seemed to call them. Arjun felt a shiver but stepped forward. The bell from yesterday still lay on the bench in the big tent. It looked untouched, but Arjun knew he had left it there last night. He picked it up carefully and shook it. The sound was soft but seemed to echo much farther than before. Ravi took photos of the tent and the old benches. He felt a strange energy in the air, like the circus was waiting for something. He told Arjun he wanted to check the smaller tents while Arjun stayed in the main one. Arjun agreed. Inside the main tent, Arjun opened the notebook again. He read the pages about performers and animals, but the later pages scared him more. The diary mentioned that the circus could appear to new visitors at certain times, and it would test them with strange sounds, lights, and shadows. Arjun shivered but tried to stay calm. Suddenly, a faint light appeared at the far end of the tent. It flickered like a lantern but moved slowly toward the center ring. Arjun held his breath and stayed still. The light stopped near the middle of the circle and disappeared. He felt a pull as if someone wanted him to follow. Ravi's voice called from outside. He said he found something strange in the animal tent. Arjun rushed outside. Ravi was pointing at a cage that had not been there yesterday. It was small, and inside was a puppet. Its eyes were bright, and it seemed to look directly at them. Arjun examined it closely. The puppet was dressed like a clown with a tiny hat and shoes. Its arms and legs moved slightly, even though there was no wind. Ravi whispered that it was moving by itself. Arjun tried to laugh and said it was just a trick of the shadows. They continued exploring the circus. Behind the main tent, they found a narrow path that led to a small building they had not noticed yesterday. It was hidden behind overgrown bushes and trees. The building looked like a storage shed, but its door was decorated with faded pictures of circus animals and performers. Arjun pushed the door open. Inside, the air smelled musty but also sweet like candy. Rows of boxes and barrels lined the walls. On a table in the center were small instruments, drums, flutes, and tambourines. Some were broken, but others looked new. Ravi picked up a small drum and tapped it lightly. The sound echoed in the shed, and for a moment they thought they heard faint laughter outside. They stopped and listened, but the forest was silent. Arjun suggested they leave before it got too dark. As they walked back toward the main clearing, they noticed strange signs on the ground. Footprints circled the tents, but no one was there. Some prints were small like children's, and some were large like adults. Arjun felt uneasy. He whispered to Ravi that the diary had mentioned visitors being watched by unseen figures. Ravi tried to take pictures of the footprints, but the camera battery died suddenly. He looked at Arjun and both felt the same thought. The circus did not want them to leave. They decided to rest near a small stream at the edge of the clearing. While they drank water, Ravi saw movement in the trees. Shadows shifted and he thought he saw small figures moving quickly. He blinked, and they were gone. Arjun suggested they ring the bell again, hoping it might help them understand what was happening. He lifted the bell and shook it. The sound echoed louder than before, and a strange wind blew through the clearing. Leaves swirled, and the tent seemed to breathe. Suddenly, from the main tent came a sound like clapping. It was soft at first, then louder. Arjun and Ravi froze. The sound was rhythmic, like an invisible audience applauding. Ravi whispered that they should leave, but the applause continued. They ran toward the forest edge, but the path seemed longer than before. The trees felt closer, and shadows stretched in unusual shapes. Arjun remembered a line from the diary. The circus shows itself only to those who are curious, but it keeps them until they understand its secrets. They stopped in the middle of the path, catching their breath. The forest was silent again, but the clearing with the circus tents was still visible in the distance. They could see the red main tent, and from inside, faint lights flickered. It was as if someone was moving lanterns from place to place. Ravi asked if they should go back to the circus. Arjun hesitated. He did not want to go deeper, but he felt they could not ignore what was happening. They decided to return slowly, carefully watching every movement in the shadows. When they reached the clearing again, the circus looked different. The tent seemed taller and some colors were brighter. The main red tent had a soft glow inside. Arjun felt a strange pull toward it, like the circus wanted him to enter again. Ravi looked worried and suggested they just take a closer look from outside. As they approached, the big tent flap moved slightly. It was as if someone was inviting them inside. Arjun's heart raced. He looked at Ravi and nodded, showing he would go in for a moment just to see what the light was. Inside the main tent, the air felt warmer. The benches were dusty, but the circle in the center was clean. The bell lay on the bench, and the small drum from the shed sat next to it. The flickering light appeared again, moving slowly across the floor. Arjun followed it carefully. The light stopped near the center of the ring. Arjun could see shapes in the shadows like figures standing quietly. They did not move, but he felt their eyes on him. The air was heavy and the silence was complete. He wanted to leave, but something told him to stay calm. Ravi's voice came softly from outside. He said he would wait, and Arjun nodded. The light flickered one last time, then disappeared. The air returned to normal, and the tent felt empty again. Arjun took a deep breath and touched the bell. It was warm in his hand. He realized that the circus was not just a place. It was alive in some way. It responded to visitors, showing signs and sounds, testing them. He looked around and whispered to himself that they had to understand its secret. The diary might hold the answers. He put the bell carefully in his backpack and stepped outside. Ravi looked at him with wide eyes, and they walked slowly back to the forest edge. The sun was low in the sky again. The forest seemed less threatening now, but both of them felt the memory of the circus would stay with them. The notebook and bell were clues, and they knew they would have to return to uncover the truth. As they reached their car, Ravi said the circus was unlike anything he had ever seen. Arjun nodded, thinking about the strange lights, the applause, and the hidden signs. He knew this was only the beginning. That night, Arjun could not sleep. He placed the notebook and bell on his table. The bell rang softly once, though he had not touched it. He smiled nervously, realizing that the circus had found a way to reach him even from far away. The next morning, Arjun woke up early, still thinking about the strange circus. The bell on his table had not moved since last night, but he could feel its presence in the room. Ravi called him and asked if he was ready to return to the forest. Arjun nodded. They agreed to meet at the edge of the forest as the sun rose. The forest looked calm and quiet in the early light. Birds sang softly and the leaves shimmered in the morning breeze. Arjun carried the notebook and the bell, and Ravi had his camera ready. The path seemed familiar, yet the forest felt different this time. Shadows were longer and the air seemed heavier. When they reached the clearing, the circus looked the same at first. The tents were standing still and the ground was covered with fallen leaves. But then Arjun noticed small footprints in the dirt circling the main red tent. Some looked like children's, others like adults, and all seemed fresh. Ravi took pictures, noticing how the shadows made the prints look strange and alive. Arjun carried the bell toward the main tent. The moment he touched it, a soft sound echoed, far louder than before. The sound seemed to move around them, like invisible figures were responding. Ravi whispered that it was incredible, and Arjun nodded, feeling a strange energy in the air. Inside the main tent, the benches were empty, but the circle in the middle glowed faintly. The light from yesterday appeared again, floating above the ground. It moved slowly toward the center of the ring, almost as if it wanted them to follow. Arjun stepped forward carefully, holding the bell, while Ravi stayed close behind. Arjun looked at the notebook, remembering a page that mentioned hidden doors beneath the circus. He turned to the back pages and found a sketch showing a trapdoor in the center of the main ring. The sketch was old, but the shape matched the wooden floor perfectly. Ravi knelt beside the ring and helped Arjun lift the floorboards. Beneath there was a small staircase leading down into darkness. The air that came up was cool and smelled of damp earth. Arjun felt nervous but curious. He turned on his flashlight and carefully descended. Ravi followed him with his camera, capturing every moment. The stairs led to a hidden room beneath the circus. It was round and small with stone walls. Strange symbols were carved into the floor, forming a circular pattern. The bell in Arjun's hand vibrated slightly, as if it responded to the energy in the room. In the center of the room, a wooden chest rested on a stone pedestal. Arjun approached it slowly. The chest was old but not locked. When he opened it, they found old letters, photographs of performers, and more masks similar to the one they had seen before. Some masks had smiles, some were sad, and others were neutral. Each mask seemed carefully placed, almost like a display. Ravi picked up a photograph showing the circus in its prime. Bright colors, performers smiling, and audiences clapping filled the picture. But in the shadows of the photo there were strange shapes, almost like figures watching silently from the edges. Arjun noticed them too and felt a shiver run through him. Among the letters, Arjun found one that seemed different. It was addressed to anyone who discovered the circus. The letter said that the circus was alive and that it tested those who entered. It spoke of courage, curiosity, and respect. It also warned that those who ignored the rules would find themselves trapped in the circus's secrets. Ravi looked nervous. He whispered that they should leave the masks and chest alone. Arjun agreed, but he could not stop studying the items. He gently closed the chest and placed the bell on top. The bell rang softly as if acknowledging them. They returned upstairs to the main tent. The benches looked ordinary now, and the light that had floated yesterday was gone. Yet the air still felt strange. Arjun realized the circus was not just a place. It was a living presence, waiting for visitors to understand its mysteries. As they walked outside, they noticed movement near the smaller tents. From a distance, figures seemed to appear and disappear. Some looked like performers, while others were unrecognizable shapes. The circus seemed to watch them, testing their courage and curiosity. Ravi whispered that the puppet from yesterday had moved again. It was standing near the edge of the animal tent, its small eyes bright in the shadow. Arjun nodded and said it was part of the circus's way of interacting with them. He wanted to understand, not fear, the hidden circus. They explored the other tents carefully. In one, they found old juggling equipment, ropes, and stilts. The items were dusty but arranged neatly. In another tent, there were instruments, including small drums, flutes, and cymbals. When Ravi touched one, a soft note echoed across the clearing and a light flickered inside the main tent. Arjun realized that everything in the circus was connected. Sounds, movements, and lights were signs. The circus responded to visitors who paid attention. He turned to Ravi and said that they had to be careful and observant. The circus might test them more today. As the sun climbed higher, the forest seemed quieter. The circus appeared normal to anyone watching from a distance, but Arjun and Ravi could sense its energy. They walked toward the main tent again. Inside, the ring glowed faintly, and the floorboards where the trapdoor was hidden were still visible. Arjun lifted the floorboards again, showing Ravi the hidden room. They did not go down this time, but he explained what they had discovered. Ravi understood and nodded. They both realized the circus had secrets that would take time to uncover. After exploring a little more, they decided to rest near the stream at the edge of the clearing. While drinking water, they saw shadows moving among the trees. Small figures ran quickly but disappeared before they could be seen clearly. The circus seemed to be alive, reacting to their presence. Ravi asked if they were being watched. Arjun said probably, but it was not dangerous. The circus was testing them, and they had passed the first stage by being curious and brave. Arjun shook the bell softly. The sound echoed across the clearing and the shadows stopped moving. Before leaving the forest, they walked around the tents one last time. The red main tent looked calm now, but Arjun could feel its energy. He understood that the circus was waiting for them to return, ready to reveal more secrets. As they reached the forest edge, Ravi said he felt like they had only seen the surface. Arjun agreed. The circus was more than just a place. It was a puzzle, alive and mysterious. They drove back to town in silence, both thinking about the hidden room, the bell, and the strange lights. That night, Arjun placed the bell and notebook on the table again. The bell remained quiet, but he knew it was only waiting for the right moment to ring. He studied the notebook, reading the pages about the circus's past and its tests. Every word felt important. Ravi called later to discuss what they had seen. They both agreed to return soon, prepared to uncover more secrets. Arjun felt a strange mix of excitement and caution. The circus was mysterious, but it was also inviting them to understand it. Before going to sleep, Arjun looked at the bell one more time. It lay silently on the notebook, but he could feel its presence. He smiled slightly, knowing that their journey with the hidden circus had only just begun. The next morning, Arjun and Ravi prepared to return to the forest. They packed snacks, water, the notebook, and the bell. Ravi carried his camera and a flashlight just in case. The sun was rising and the forest looked peaceful, but both of them felt a quiet excitement. They knew the hidden circus had secrets, and today they wanted to discover more. As they walked along the familiar path, the forest seemed alive in a new way. Birds chirped softly, and the sunlight moved through the trees in sparkling patterns. The leaves rustled gently, as if whispering a welcome. Arjun held the bell in his hand, feeling its energy. Ravi noticed that every step they took seemed lighter than before. When they reached the clearing, the circus looked both the same and different. The tent stood tall, but now the colors seemed brighter, almost glowing. The red main tent called to them like yesterday, and faint shapes moved inside as if welcoming them back. Arjun felt a shiver of excitement. They entered the main tent together. The circle in the center glowed faintly, and the benches were dusted clean as if someone had arranged them overnight. The air was warm, and a soft hum seemed to come from the floorboards. The bell in Arjun's hand vibrated slightly. He knew the circus wanted them to notice something. Ravi pointed to the trapdoor in the center of the ring. Arjun nodded and carefully lifted the floorboards. The hidden staircase led down into the secret room. They descended slowly, using their flashlights. The room looked the same as before, but the energy felt stronger. The symbols on the floor glowed faintly, casting soft shadows along the walls. In the center, the wooden chest sat on the pedestal. Arjun opened it, and this time inside were more masks than before. Some masks had painted smiles. Others looked thoughtful or surprised. A few masks even had tiny lights inside them that flickered like fireflies. Ravi whispered that it looked magical, and Arjun agreed. They noticed a small wooden box in the corner of the room. Arjun opened it carefully. Inside were tiny figurines, each dressed like circus performers. When he touched one, it moved slightly like it was alive. Ravi's eyes widened in surprise. He gently tapped another figurine, and it twirled in a circle before stopping perfectly in place. Arjun realized that the circus was showing them its wonders. Everything inside was not ordinary. The masks, the figurines, the instruments, they all seemed alive in their own way. It was like the circus was teaching them to see carefully, to notice details, and to respect its magic. They returned upstairs, leaving the hidden room intact. The main tent was filled with soft glowing light now. Arjun held the bell and shook it gently. The sound echoed across the clearing, and a soft melody joined it, like music coming from nowhere. Ravi smiled, feeling the magic of the place. They explored the smaller tents. In one, they found juggling balls floating gently above the floor, spinning slowly as if waiting to be caught. Ravi laughed softly and tried to catch one, but it moved away, playful and light. Arjun shook his head and said that the circus wanted them to observe, not just touch. In another tent, instruments played soft notes when they moved past them. Drums, flutes, and cymbals responded to their steps, creating a gentle rhythm. The circus was alive, interacting with them in a friendly way. Arjun realized that the place was not scary but mysterious and magical. Near the animal tent, they saw small puppet figures performing acrobatics on tiny ropes. Some jumped from one rope to another, while others balanced on miniature stilts. The movements were perfect and every action seemed purposeful. Ravi whispered that it was like watching a real circus in miniature. Arjun noticed shadows moving at the edges of the clearing. They were not frightening but graceful, almost like performers practicing. The circus seemed to be preparing them for something, testing their curiosity, courage, and patience. He understood that they had to pay attention and learn from every detail. After exploring for a while, they sat near the stream to rest. The sun was high and the forest seemed calm. Arjun studied the notebook again, reading the parts about the circus's past. It mentioned performers who had discovered its magic and learned to respect its rules. The diary also spoke of visitors who had ignored the signs and failed to see the wonders, leaving without understanding. Ravi asked if they were ready for the next discovery. Arjun nodded. He felt the circus was going to reveal something new today. He picked up the bell and shook it once. The sound echoed gently and the air seemed to shimmer. From the main tent came soft light, moving like a dance across the floor. They followed the light carefully. It led them to the center ring. The floorboards lifted easily, and the hidden staircase welcomed them back into the secret room. This time the figurines were moving on their own, performing little acts as if showing them a story. Masks floated above the chest, their expressions changing slowly. Arjun realized that the circus had a story to tell. Every object, light, and sound was part of a larger lesson. The circus was alive and it shared its magic with those who observed with respect. Ravi whispered that this was unlike anything he had ever seen, and Arjun agreed. Suddenly, they heard soft footsteps above them. The sound was light and careful. They looked at each other and decided to stay still. The footsteps moved across the floor of the main tent but did not enter the secret room. Arjun understood that the circus could create movement and sounds to guide visitors, showing them where to go and how to observe. After a while, the footsteps faded, and the room returned to calm. The mask stopped floating and the figurines rested quietly. Arjun and Ravi climbed back upstairs. The main tent glowed softly, and the benches seemed to invite them to sit. They realized the circus was not only magical but also patient, teaching them to wait, watch, and understand. As the sun began to lower in the sky, they explored the area one last time. The puppet from the animal tent performed a small dance for them, jumping and spinning perfectly. The juggling balls floated above the floor again, spinning gently as if saying goodbye. Arjun shook the bell one last time, and the soft melody played once more. They walked back toward the forest edge, feeling a sense of wonder. The circus had shown them its magic, teaching them to observe, respect, and understand. Arjun knew they had passed another stage, earning the trust of the hidden place. Ravi smiled, feeling both excitement and awe. When they reached their car, they paused to look back at the clearing. The tent seemed peaceful and the forest appeared calm. Arjun whispered that the circus would always be waiting for them, ready to share more wonders when they returned. Ravi nodded, feeling a strong connection to the magical place. That night, Arjun placed the bell and notebook on the table. He thought about the floating masks, dancing puppets, and instruments that played themselves. The circus had begun to reveal its secrets, showing them beauty, magic, and mystery. He knew their journey was far from over. Ravi called later to talk about what they had seen. They agreed to return soon, prepared to learn more from the hidden circus. Arjun looked at the bell, feeling its soft energy, and smiled. The circus was alive, and it would continue to teach them if they returned with curiosity and respect. The next morning, Arjun and Ravi set out for the forest again. They carried the notebook, the bell, water, and snacks. Ravi also brought extra batteries for his camera. The sun was rising, casting golden light on the trees, and the forest seemed calm yet full of quiet energy. Both of them felt excitement mixed with curiosity. They knew today they might discover the deepest secrets of the hidden circus. As they walked along the path, the forest felt familiar but alive. Birds sang in soft notes, and the leaves shimmered in the morning sun. Shadows moved gently with the breeze, and every step felt lighter. Arjun held the bell carefully, sensing its energy. Ravi noticed that the forest seemed to welcome them back. When they reached the clearing, the circus looked magical. The tent stood tall and bright, and the red main tent in the center seemed to glow faintly. Shapes moved softly inside, like performers waiting for their audience. Arjun and Ravi exchanged a look of excitement and wonder. They entered the main tent together. The benches were clean, and the center ring glowed with soft light. The bell in Arjun's hand vibrated slightly, as if acknowledging their presence. He shook it gently, and a soft melody echoed across the clearing. Ravi smiled, feeling the magic of the place. Arjun pointed to the floorboards in the center of the ring. The hidden trapdoor awaited them. They lifted it carefully and descended into the secret room. This time the room felt more alive. The symbols on the floor glowed, and the masks floated above the chest, each changing its expression slowly. The figurines danced in small groups, performing acts in perfect harmony. Arjun and Ravi watched quietly, realizing that the circus was telling them a story. Every mask, every figurine, and every light had meaning. It was a story of creativity, joy, and respect for the art of performance. The circus wanted them to see not just the objects, but the lessons they carried. In the corner of the room, Arjun noticed a small staircase leading further down. He felt a mixture of excitement and caution. The notebook had mentioned a final secret hidden deep below the circus. He looked at Ravi, who nodded in agreement. They decided to go down carefully using their flashlights. The staircase led to a large underground hall. It was circular, with walls covered in murals of performers, animals, and audiences from long ago. The colors were bright and seemed to shimmer in the light of their flashlights. The murals told stories of happiness, creativity, and teamwork. Arjun realized that the circus had been alive for many years, showing magic and wonder to those who respected it. In the center of the hall, a large pedestal held a golden mask. Its smile was gentle, and its eyes seemed to glow with warmth. Around the pedestal were small lights floating in circles, casting soft reflections on the walls. Arjun felt drawn to it, understanding that this was the final secret of the hidden circus. Ravi stepped closer, and the lights around the pedestal moved gently, forming patterns that seemed to welcome them. Arjun approached the golden mask slowly, feeling its energy. When he touched it lightly, the room filled with soft music, and the murals seemed to move, showing scenes of performers practicing, animals performing, and audiences clapping. The music was gentle and joyful. Arjun realized that the golden mask was the heart of the circus. It held the memories of every performer, every audience member, and every act from the past. The circus was alive because it carried these memories and shared them with those who were curious and respectful. Ravi smiled, understanding the lesson. The circus was not meant to frighten or trap anyone. It was a place of wonder, teaching visitors to appreciate creativity, courage, and teamwork. Arjun nodded, feeling a deep connection to the hidden circus and its magic. As they explored the hall, the floating lights formed shapes that guided them around. They saw murals of performers helping each other, animals performing carefully, and audiences cheering with joy. Every scene seemed to show a value: kindness, patience, and respect. Arjun realized that the circus had been testing them, not with fear but with observation. They spent time observing, learning, and understanding the stories in the murals. The bell in Arjun's hand vibrated softly, as if confirming that they had understood. The music continued, filling the hall with warmth and light. Ravi took a few pictures, careful to capture the beauty and magic of the place. After a while, Arjun and Ravi returned to the secret room. The masks and figurines were still floating and dancing gently. The circus seemed calm and satisfied, as if it had shared its secrets and teachings with them. Arjun realized that this was the true purpose of the hidden circus: to show the value of curiosity, respect, and observation. They climbed back upstairs to the main tent. The benches were empty, and the center ring glowed softly. Arjun held the bell one last time and shook it gently. The soft melody played and the floating lights appeared briefly, as if saying goodbye. Ravi smiled, feeling grateful for the magical experience. As they walked around the clearing one last time, the puppet from the animal tent performed a gentle dance. The juggling balls floated above the floor, spinning slowly. The instruments played soft notes as they passed. The circus seemed alive, not in a scary way, but in a joyful, magical way. Arjun and Ravi walked toward the forest edge. The sun was lower in the sky and the forest seemed calm. The circus tents appeared peaceful, waiting for future visitors who were curious and respectful. Arjun realized that the circus had chosen them to learn its secrets because they had observed, listened, and acted with care. When they reached their car, they paused to look back at the clearing. The red main tent glowed softly, and the smaller tent stood tall and bright. Arjun whispered that the circus would always be alive, sharing its magic with those who understood it. Ravi nodded, feeling a deep sense of wonder and connection to the place. That night, Arjun placed the bell and notebook on the table. The bell was quiet, but he could feel its energy. He reviewed the notebook, reading the pages about the circus's past and its teachings. Every word felt important, and he understood the meaning of their journey. Ravi called later to discuss what they had discovered. They both agreed that the circus had shown them a magical world full of lessons and wonders. Arjun smiled, knowing that the hidden circus had changed them. They had learned patience, observation, respect, and curiosity. From that day on, Arjun and Ravi often returned to the forest, not to explore fear or mystery, but to enjoy the wonders of the hidden circus. They respected its rules, observed its magic, and learned from every detail. The circus continued to share its secrets, teaching them lessons of creativity, courage, and joy. The golden mask remained the heart of the circus, glowing softly underground, holding the memories and magic of every performer and audience from the past. The bell and notebook became reminders of their journey and the lessons they had learned. Arjun realized that the hidden circus was not a place of fear, but a place of understanding. It rewarded curiosity and respect, teaching those who visited to see the beauty in small details, to be patient, and to appreciate creativity. Ravi agreed, feeling grateful for the magical experience. The forest remained quiet, and the circus seemed calm, waiting for the next visitors who were ready to observe and learn. Arjun and Ravi knew that the hidden circus would always be a part of their lives, a place of magic, wonder, and gentle lessons that would stay with them forever.